RESPECT. Find out what it means to me. Do you ever feel like respect is a disappearing commodity? Whether it's in our daily interactions or within our organization, respect seems harder to come by. Rise and shine, leaders. This is Glenn Guyton, your cultural futurist, equipping organizations with effective strategies to foster a culture of innovation, reduce workplace stress, and elevate team performance. It's time for our executive coffee break. I have my beverage in hand. I hope you have yours too. They say you can't choose your family, but you can choose your workplace culture and your beverage. Leadership matters, so you might as well get good at it. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. Well, today I want to talk about respect. And respect seems to be a commodity that's going away, right? It's something that's missing, it seems like, in polite society, especially if you're an older person. You can say, hey, these young kids, these younger workers, they don't have the same respect that we had years ago or when we were growing up. And so there's even been books written about this. And if you look at this article here from the Today Show, you see what people think about what's going on with respect, how people feel about respect in our polite society. So it says that 79% of the people say that lack of respect is a serious problem. 60% of the people say rude and selfish behavior is increasing. 62% are bothered by rude behavior. 77% see clerks, so people in the stores, are ignoring customers. And you've probably heard that customer service is on the decline. So think about this: if you are in the service industry and you're watching this video, aggressive driving, that's just normal for us in Texas. I think everyone drives aggressively in Texas. Especially like if you're in Houston, where I'm from. 56% of people are bothered by foul language. And so some of the things that, some of our expectations are changing when it comes to respect. So how do you feel about that? I'd love to know what you're thinking. Put a message in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. Are we losing respect? Especially in this country. So thinking about the U.S., are we losing respect? Maybe Canada, if you're watching, you can weigh into. I think Canadians are a little bit politer, or what we think about as being polite, a little bit more polite than folks in the U.S. But one of the things I do want to say about respect is we have to understand respect in different cultures. Respect can be interpreted differently across cultures. For instance, some Asian cultures, respect is shown through silence and deference to authority. That could also be in some Native American cultures that I've experienced. While in Western cultures, respect might be demonstrated through direct communication and sharing of ideas. Understanding these cultural nuances is really crucial for fostering a respectful and inclusive workplace. How we talk, different voice inflections, it's really dependent on where we're from. And, I said like Asian culture, but if you think about the difference between the South traditionally and the North, there seems to be a greater sense of, this genteel respect in the South that isn't necessarily present in the North. People say that Southerners tend to be a little bit more friendly, a little bit more warm and more welcoming. I mean, but it all varies. Just understand that our cultural expectations really help us to define what respect is. And then even within our culture, our own cultures, it shifts. So, but just as a rule of thumb, we have to understand that respect is received differently by different people. All right. And so what about this decline of respect in society? Well, respect as it has been traditionally exercised does seem to be waning. We have a new generation, a younger generation that grew up on these devices, right? And respect is actually shown differently electronically than it is in person. When you are a keyboard warrior, when you're typing on this keyboard, you don't receive the same type of response that you would get if you're talking to someone in person. And so the lines are blurred now. We don't have the same boundaries, which is probably why people feel respect is changing. We don't have the same boundaries uh, that we had 20 years ago or before social media, before the iPhone. And then the other thing we have to think about as we think about respect is that we live in an algorithm society now, and the algorithm dictates our behavior, right? So if you've ever watched the movie The Social Experiment, social media is impacting how we think, how our brains work, how we're rewarded for certain behavior. And now polarized behavior is rewarded. So think about that in your workplace. If there's drama in your workplace, why is this drama happening? Well, again, we live in an algorithm driven society where outrage gets clicks, gets likes, and it is even profitable for some people. So um, things don't happen in a vacuum. These broader societal trends will bleed over into the workforce, and you will have to deal with these things as a supervisor and help people to understand what the lines are. The lines between our personal and professional lives are becoming more and more blurred. So, like Aretha said, RESPCT. Find out what it means to me. And you got to take care of TCB, right? You got to take care of business. And so part of our job as leaders and supervisors is to help people take care of business and understand what respect means in our context. So I just want to give you 5 things, 5 tips to help you work on respect in your workplace. And really, you have to train your people if you are in an industry where you have customer facing people, frontline workers, like if you are at a bank dealing with tellers, if you're in the service industry, it's really important that we teach expectations because, again, respect is not a universal thing. What you may feel is respectful based on your cultural context may not be respectful in another cultural context. So it's not just enough to assume that you're being respectful. We have to discuss it. We have to talk about it. We have to learn it. We have to teach each other what our expectations are. So here's some five tips for showing respect in the workplace. Number 1 is active listening. Show genuine interest in your team members' ideas and feedback. Active listening involves giving your full attention, nodding, and providing thoughtful responses. So we want to be engaged when we're talking to people. Number 2, recognition and appreciation. Regularly acknowledge and celebrate achievements, both big and small. Simple thank you or public shout out can go a long way in making employees feel valued. And again, as we think about recognition and appreciation, find out what's meaningful for your team, for the people that work for you. Number 3, empathy and understanding. They go a long way. Take time to understand your employees' perspectives and challenges. This means showing compassion and providing support when needed. Learn a little bit about the people that you work with and that work for you. Sometimes respect means just being heard. Hey, I understand that you're going through this, and that's it can be as simple as that in many cases. Just taking the time to listening, active listening, empathy, and understanding go hand in hand. Number 4, fair and inclusive practices. People are triggered sometimes now by the word DE&I, but I think that fair and inclusive practices is really what we are talking about. Ensure that your workplace policies promote fairness and inclusivity. Equity is important too. It's not always just about being fair, but it's about being equitable. I won't go into detail on that right now, but we need to think about these things. But we want to make sure people have equal opportunity for equal work. That's part of this fairness that I'm talking about. So this includes providing equal opportunities for growth and addressing any form of discrimination promptly. Again, it's not about being woke, but it's really about creating this atmosphere of respect. And this goes across the board for everyone. But part of that is talking about the expectations for your workplace, what's acceptable and what's not acceptable in your workplace, and having a rationale for why these things are or aren't appropriate for the work that you do. And number five, consistent and transparent communication is really important in building respect. People have to trust you. Keep your communication open, honest, and regular. Transparency builds trust and respect within the team. Uh, Implementing these tips can create a more respectful, harmonious workplace, and make sure you recognize, again, the differences, the cultural differences of how respect is shown, and you can tailor your approach to better suit your diverse team. Encourage your people to, and especially your supervisors, to practice active listening, to enhance collaboration and innovation. That's what we want to do. We want to drive innovation. We want a productive workforce. That's why I developed, again, this guide. I'll put the information for this guide, but here are 52 tips for you to help build harmonious trust in your workplace. So these are 52 tips for unlocking team potential, for innovation and growth. This is an excellent resource. Gives you some tips on how you can start building trust in your workplace, which will lead to respect. You can't respect someone that you don't trust, and you won't feel respected if you don't feel trusted. And so these things work hand in hand. Well, hey, let's not forget the strength and perseverance that it takes to lead with empathy and inclusivity. Better leaders get better results. So to every one of you leading the charge for a more supportive and engaging workplace, I leave you with this. Stay bold, stay inspired, and remember that your actions today shape the culture of tomorrow. My name is Glenn Guyton. You all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day.